Hey everyone, it's Friday night, and if it's Friday night, it's Weekender time. And if it's Weekender time, it's time for epic prizes. This week, we're giving away the Warhammer 40k starter set, Prophecy of the Wolf. This thing is massive. Comes with a load of orcs and a load of space wolves for you and a mate to create some epic battles. Got all your rules and stuff like that to get stuck into 40k. And if you want to win this bad boy, you can do it by dropping a comment below, liking this video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and if you want to double your chances of winning, come on over to OnTableTop.com, make yourself a free account and comment there too, because we're going to pick one winner from the overall set of comments. So what are you waiting for? The weekend starts now. Hey, welcome to the show this week. I'm joined by Ben and Jerry. Oh, no, Ben and Jerry over here. We have no Warren this week, and my name is Lloyd. In case you've never watched the show before, we're going to get stuck into, an hour and more of all sorts of things to do with tabletop gaming. But before we get stuck into the news and things like that, I'm going to have to compliment Ben on his commando haircut.
Thank you, man.
You're looking like...
He looks like Eagle Eye Action Man.
Yeah, you literally look like someone flocked your head.
Yeah. This is actually the kind of hair that you would have had on those old action men. I remember having a few of those. Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow,
it's a good look.
What did you do that with?
I did it with my friend's like buzzer shaver thing. So obviously I respectfully left it in the hallway for a legitimate amount of time before using it.
Yeah.
So, and the funniest thing was that there's no plugs in my bathroom. So I had to shave my head with my girlfriend's makeup mirror in the kitchen and then run to the bathroom to go and check it a little bit better in the mirror and then come back again. So yeah, it was very,
wow.
That's when you start with like a number 4 and then you do it and you go, oh, it doesn't quite work. Let's go down to number 3 and try and level that out. And then at number 2, and before you know it, you're ending up, you're just becking your head like somebody
it's
from
the Father
Commando.
Ted rule of thought, yeah. Just keep tapping away and you'll get it. So
I love these lockdown haircuts. I hope you kept the cuttings. Like, you're really cool for basing.
I could have used that for all those like teddy bear housing things or whatever. Maybe you could have done something like that.
I keep threatening Justin with bringing them in bases with hair literally on them that I've trimmed from parts of me.
From parts of you, yeah.
But it's perfectly wiry. It's exactly what we...
It's the
perfect read.
It's the tangled undergrowth.
How could you not like it, Justin? Happy birthday.
Well,
that's it.
Literally,
I love the idea that would be his birthday present.
After the show, gents. After the show, that has to be done. Yeah. So let's get stuck in. Remember, peeps, there's an awesome prize you could win. So get commenting and sharing and liking the video. I gotta say that box set is pretty epic. That Prophecy of the Wolf stuff.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really cool because obviously it's got the 2 new models in it. So it's got Ragnar and it's got Ghazghkull Thraka and all that kind of thing. So the perfect kind of starting point, maybe diving into 9th edition and doing some cool stuff with that and stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about 40k later in the episode as well. But yeah, some really cool models in that set. So
it is really cool.
The only thing I don't like is that all the normal orcs are the old orcs still.
150 years old.
They're 150 years old. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They should really just be taking this opportunity to update them and make them a bit more sort of like Primaris-y, I guess. But
if they don't get it in 9th edition, I can only assume they're planning on squatting the orc race. My God, they've had an innings, those models.
Yeah. I mean, they'll always be back though. They'll always be back.
Yeah, Eldar Falcon Grav tanks look at them and go, "Any chance, lads?"
Any chance, brilliant.
Any chance.
Right, yeah. So get your comments in below for another chance to win. Get on over to OnTableTop.com and get your comment in there to double your chances. Share the video, like it, and do us a favor. Share this around on Facebook if you're in part of a wargaming group into historical gaming, fantasy, whatever. There's probably something in the show that'll be relevant. drop it into your groups, share the show. It really helps out. It really does. Right. During the week, Ben, there was a trailer went up from Kromlech.
There was. Yeah.
It was pretty sweet. So we thought, oh, this is probably a good time to highlight Kromlech in our little Indie of the Week. So that's what we've chosen. Sparked off of the trailer. I mean, I could bring the trailer up for the new stuff that they're working on.
No, that'd be cool, yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, Kromlech, as part of their Tabletop Scenics range, which is their sort of terrain arm of the business, are working on a new set of, I think it's around 15 pieces of terrain, 12 or 15, I think it's 15 pieces of terrain, which are themed to Frostgrave, because Frostgrave is coming back in August with a new edition of the game. And so this terrain range is the official range that has been worked on with both Kromlech and Osprey Games in order to sort of go alongside the miniatures and all that kind of thing that you see from North Star and the like. So, some very, very cool looking pieces in this one.
It's a cool trailer too. People are hyped.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they've used a combination of resin casting. You just see the bell there, along with the lizard cut, because it's those little incidental pieces that you can't really do particularly well in wood. Yeah, that really stand out. Then when if you see a bell tower without a bell, you just go, it's just a tower. If you see one with a square bell because it's been made out of wood, you're going, oh god, I wish you hadn't. I'd have rather gone and found a Christmas decoration. But they're using the fact that they have that capacity for the resin casting to add these incidental pieces to really set them up.
Do we know if this is pre-colored stuff or is this all painted?
It's all been painted. It's unpainted, unprimed, just standard plain wood.
So it's going to be the HDF stuff, MDF, HDF terrain with the resin pieces, as Jerry was saying there. And there's lots of really cool bits and pieces in it, like there's things like the bell tower, that's the mausoleum there. One of the big things about Frostgrave, if anyone's not heard of that game, which is pretty crazy because it's like one of the biggest skirmish games out there. But if you haven't heard about it, it's all very much like narrative, scenario-driven sort of skirmishing war games on the tabletop, where you take control of like a band of wizards and their sort of followers and companions. And go off in search of treasures within the frozen ruins of Felstad, which is this city that was devastated by magical power hundreds of years ago. And so a lot of these terrain ranges are based on things like the ruins or iconic buildings that would be needed in scenarios, or things that would be good, like, for example, there you can see some of the bigger ruin pieces that are good for like scatter terrain and all that kind of thing too. There's loads of little tiny pieces in there. The Living Museum, which we'll see in a second, this one is one of my favorite. I love the fact this like ruined manor house. I think it's such a cool idea. And hopefully they actually do those little tiny incidental pieces. So things like the frame around the portrait and that kind of thing that you can then put something into or something.
Yeah, cool. Or even if they do, it's easy enough to get images off Tinterwebs and print them out. But even if they had a downloadable sheet, an A4 sheet that you can just print out yourself of stuff you can cut out and stick on there. It has that Harry Potter feel that they have.
It does a little bit, actually,
moving picture type things kicking off all over the place. It'll be interesting to see where Frostgrave goes with its second edition, because it's been around now for quite a few years, and they've really built up a quite extensive range from North Star and Osprey. As far as both the game mechanics and books and incidentals go, plus the miniature range. But this is the first time they've had a dedicated terrain range to go with it.
It's cool. I can't wait to see more of that. It's coming out on the 8th, so that's like this Monday.
No, is it?
Is that pre-orders coming out on the 8th or something? It said at the end of the video.
Oh, the terrain.
Yeah, so probably I think it's going up for sale on the Monday.
So all you need is a good gaming mat, which we'll be looking at some more gaming mats later in the show. Stay tuned for that. And you need to not wash your hair for ages so you can get plenty of dandruff, so you can stand there going like that to create the snow. That'd be amazing.
That's one of the cool things, actually, for those people that are wondering, like, how am I going to paint all that kind of stuff? Because of the idea that it's like, kind of like these ruined cities and that kind of thing, airbrushing is like a major thing for this. Like, get out your airbrush, get some grey paint, some white paint, some sort of off-white paint, and just go to town on doing the buildings like that and the ruins, and then going in and doing the incidental detail with your brushes and things, because that's a really good way to sort of make it look good quickly. And then, obviously, use weathering stuff like snow and that kind of thing, because we've done that before on some of our tables.
Or if you don't have an airbrush. break out a couple of grey spray cans.
Exactly.
Grey
Yeah. You do it metal cans.
Just keep dusting back and forward.
And then just maybe get a little white dust right on the top, and you get that frosty top if you're going to go literally for the Frostgrave look. It's really cool stuff. Let's get jumping into Kromlech's site. If you've never heard of Kromlech, now's your chance to get up to speed. So the stuff that we've just been watching in the trailer is part of their Tabletop Scenics range. So Kromlech's the overall company, and then it seems to break down into a couple of different sort of sites and stores and things like that. So we have the main Kromlech site here. This isn't where you come to get all the news and stuff, Jerry, is it? That they're getting up to.
Yeah. So any big news like the terrain, or like the fact that they've done shoulder pads specifically for the Astartes, that fan film. So if you want to match your own chapter to them, they put them on this. This the same sort of feed you would find if you follow them on Facebook or that type of thing. You've broken it. Break it.
Just straight away.
I don't know what you touched there. Don't touch that again.
No, I'm not going to touch that again.
But yeah, so this is just the sort of the media site, where any breaking news gets thrown up first.
So if we want to get stuck into the likes of what we've just seen when it comes out next week, the Tabletop Scenics range, then on their bitsofwar.com website. That's their main shop. As I understand it, the Bits of War.
Yeah, if you're on the Kromlech website and just hit store, that brings you to this anyway. And then it's just a case of deciding what you're after, whether it's Norky bits like this. And I've seen this painted up. There's a quite impressive orc fort. It's very Gorka Morker-esque.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that's very cool about Kromlech is they sort of started out, I guess, like a lot of other little companies that doing things like orc alternative heads and that kind of thing. And so seeing them do the orc terrain was a really fun little addition into the mix, which isn't actually too old either. This orc stuff, it was actually quite recent in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's within the past couple of years, or even past year, I think. And when it's painted up, you can see yourself. Doesn't look, it takes you a while. You go, oh, that could be wood, or it could be resin, or it could be scratch, but I can't really work out what's going on here, which is nice because you don't always want square buildings that always look like they've been made out of wood. So there's different textures and patches and rivets and all sorts of things. And then I think there's also a add-on packs you can get that you can then put more detailing over the top of it to really make it look like it's a made thing and not a bought thing.
Yeah, it's one of the cool things I like about it, particularly when we're looking at that Bastion piece there. There was the fact that they've added the chains that link between the different sort of things like the spikes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and
that's a really cool little additional bit, I think. So.
Also, who would have thought orcs would have been so into safety that they do not pass this railing? Watch out for that.
It's so that a grot can't push an orc off, but
that makes more sense.
It's high enough that an orc can kick a grot through the gap.
Very harsh, I feel.
We're just going to open a selection of stuff, so they've also got this more industrial looking stuff on here.
Yeah, or standard sci-fi. So if you're playing 40k or Infinity or Dead Zone or what have you, Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, Star Wars Legion's a good idea.
These would all work because they are generically sci-fi or industrial. I mean, you can get away with a lot of this in Fallout.
You can put that in Infinity as well.
Yeah, so it's just nice standard. It's not a specific range that has been made by some sort of green skin scumbag. They've been made by real people with jobs. So it's nice to see them. But obviously, they suit the 40k universe particularly well. I like the fact you can actually walk up and down the stairs. There's a few companies. They
put the space between
There's a few companies can learn from that. Just saying, there's nothing more infuriating than seeing a set of stairs and then going, all right, that's not happening. Let's just measure. Okay, he's about halfway up. We all remember he's halfway up.
I'm going to put a dice to remind me.
He's not going to balance there. So at least he's slot in. So you've got a gameable piece that's also a very nice piece to play with.
Yeah, that's cool. We always talk about is kind of like verticality and narrative-driven terrain. So terrain that it feels like it has a purpose rather than just being there as like line of sight blocking stuff.
Yeah,
allowing you to have, because you can have a small 3x3 gaming space, particularly if you're playing something like Kill Team and using some of this terrain for that. But then you can make the sort of the depth and narrative of your table even more enhanced by having that verticality and making it like 3 or 4 stories high or something. Like, there used to be gaming tables back at like Games Day or whatever that would be done on like entire huge like parts of the spire that were like 6 foot tall and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to do that, but you know, you can get a little bit more verticality out of it.
Nice if you've got the room. That Hive Cathedral is amazing.
That's epic looking, isn't it?
I'm fairly sure that is actually isn't that the Notre Dame just been reworked as well, or is it?
Could be.
Yeah.
It certainly looks as flammable as Notre Dame was.
It does.
It also reminds me of something from Assassin's Creed as well.
Yeah,
So,
there you go then.
That's really cool. I didn't realize they had buildings quite as big as that.
Oh yeah.
It's pure propaganda post. It's not propaganda. It's news.
It's the truth, isn't it? Right?
Anybody who says it's propaganda, we've got this nice gentleman over here who wants to talk to you.
So here we go. Look at the size of this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the thing they do as well is that they make sure that there's space on the top for you to put units and like maybe the stand of a flying vehicle or something. So if you do want to put your units on a higher level and have them shooting down or whatever, you can do that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. So
that's cool. And then it's just cool the individuality that the buildings seem to have as well. The cathedral, the likes of this.
Yeah, they've got different themes running in sort of sets, so you can have your industrial world or your orc world or your hive world, and again, those things, the statues and the like, where they've gone, well, you know, these are things we can't do in wood, but we can cast them quite happily to include. I mean, that I'd be quite happy with that on many gaming tables, because who doesn't want a Grim Reaper statue?
Yeah, it's cool the way they've gone. Right, let's not just do the buildings, but let's do the accessories. Because when we were building our big, epic 40k gaming table, we were printing out statues and things. We were having to go off and source them from elsewhere.
From other places. Yeah, that's now, especially where they've got things like the alcoves ready built for them. Because I've got bits and pieces from other companies, like I have a Roman triumphal arch.
Oh yeah,
it's very plain. But then if you go and find some 15mm and 20mm and 28mm Romans, then you can glue them on as statues and facade and stuff.
Yeah.
But until you do that, it's nice, but it's not finished.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you can go in there and go whole hog, really.
So the whole range then. Looking forward to seeing this other stuff. This is a good example of, you say, if it's clearly not painted, then it's just bare wood.
Yeah,
you take in and do the job.
Yeah, but there's enough detail on there that you can get away with relatively quick paint jobs, washes, pigments, that sort of thing. Or if you are handy with an airbrush, you could go to town on them. So.
Sweet. Right, let's move on into the other stuff they've done. So if you want to check out the Tabletop Scenics bit, that's really cool. But we started talking about resin pieces. So let me try and find the resin
on the
pieces.
link, just the first one you got there. You should be able to scroll down and find the individual pieces. So.
Right. So if you're into your 40k and stuff like that, they've got lots of really cool accessories. Because that's pretty much where Kromlech seemed to come from. Kromlech's been around for as long as I can remember, like at least
3 days.
Well, at least I would say at least somewhere around the last 10 years, maybe.
I think as soon as I started working with you guys, I think that Kromlech was still, so that's like 7 years ago, something like that, which is pretty crazy. So
yeah, that orc band is particularly good, especially these days. And it's the fact that GW don't do things like this anymore.
Yeah,
which offends me, because the orcs had great bands, heavy metal looking band models that were just fun and whimsical and amusing, and the fact that they've gone in there and added in Slash or Freddy or whoever it is. It's like with the incidental bits pieces that they do, there is a set of heads. They're wearing top hats. They're called gentle orcs or something like that. I'm just going, you know what, I really just want a whole squad of orcs in top hats. Because reasons.
Is this something they do? Do they literally sell rats in here somewhere?
It'll be lurking in
So
like
because you can do
conversion bits by race.
race.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, here we go. Conversion
Yeah.
bits by race.
And then check out
Greenskins.
greenskins, and then just scroll down until you find heads. So they'll be scattered around. But yeah, it really amuses me. Or if you want to do hillbilly orcs, or if you want to do western orcs or pirate orcs, they've just gone. You know what? These things are meant to be fun. Let's just make them. There they are. Look at those gentle orc heads. Why would you not have a squad of those? Go. Which squad of orcs are your knob squad? Your elites? Well, clearly, they're the ones in top hats.
Yeah.
Swish.
They're the important ones. They're knobs. Or speed freaks, or whatever happens to be.
Man, this range has really grown since the last time I was on the website.
Oh yeah. They've done a lot of stuff over the last couple of years, sort of building up their range. So it's not just orcs, but they've done humans and space knights.
Yes.
If you want to do like space marines and that kind of thing too. So it's definitely a company that has found a really nice sort of nook in the industry and providing things to help people create slightly more individual looking armies, which I think is a really key thing. Because obviously you can make things as official as you want, but I think there's something a little bit special about having that little bit of point of difference between things. So you can have a Space Marine army, but if you have a Space Marine army that has a couple of different heads in the mix or different backpacks and that kind of thing, I think it really makes a difference.
Especially if you're doing something like you're making your own chapter.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to paint your squad of Smurfs in a different color. But if you can actually theme them more by adding Sashimona style back pads or top hats on your orcs or whatever it happens to be, it reinforces the fact that it's your army and it really becomes then a very unique army to you. And you can do all sorts of weird and wacky things with them. You can use it as
coming
a
back to
off
that.
point.
Let's go to miniatures and see what there is. Because they've got some really cool tanks and things like that. A lot of the range is orc based because it's just epic.
Yeah, orcs are always the best. I mean, the fact that they do essentially the Deutsche Afrika Corps in orc form, and then they do things like see the Goliath mines. Stop. Where's your hand going? Right.
Oh, I see it. Yep.
There we go. Yep. So they were demolition mines. Used by the Germans in World War II. They were essentially little mini tanks that they would drive forward with like 1 ton of explosive in them, and drive them forward with a remote control, and then blow up bunkers. And I love the idea that they've got an orc version which is just a big Acme round bomb with a fuse at the top. Going, it's ridiculous, but they'd make excellent grot tanks. Just as something different.
They would be cool, yeah. It's one of the things I've always talked about is the idea of not like doing orcs, but not doing them as a orc army, doing them just all as grots and Gretchen.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the idea of doing that and then using things like those tiny little bombs or some of the big contraptions they have, like the tanks and things like that. And throwing that into the mix to give them a bit more flavour and using it as counts as stuff. I think it's a really cool idea. So.
Well, I don't know at what point it went away from it, but for years, the greenskins were always referred to as goblinoid races on the grounds that the goblins were the smart ones.
Yes.
They were small, crafty, smart, and did all the thinking. And the orcs who thought they were in charge were just being manipulated by the grots. Because the grots
doing all the bashing.
We're not big enough to beat people or get shot at. They'll do it for us. But at some point that just went away and it just became grots are things to be bullied. I'm very much the red gobbo. Rebel grots for the win.
Definitely, man. Yeah.
I'm still trying to find the tanks. I didn't realize this section would be that big if I clicked into it.
The Africa Corps orcs. Oh, they're just amazing. And they are great because, there used to be the likes of the Storm Boys and the Blood Axe Commandos, which were very heavily German themed. So it's just nice to see them.
Yeah, well, it's a cool thing because obviously one of the big things and the inspirations behind the orcs from Games Workshop originally was that they were like football hooligan style Brits, taking it as like a parody of that. So having them sort of work that kind of World War II sort of aesthetic into the orcs as a whole is a really good idea, I think.
It was the orcs are so rebellious and ridiculous and hooligans and unsystematically, just mental.
Yeah.
And then you got the ones who rebelled, and they rebelled by tidying the rooms and nice uniforms and following all the orders and rules. And the Blood Axe Commandos were the rebellious teenage orcs who followed the rules and played nice, or given value of nice for an orc. But,
yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
the sci-fi / 40k-ish stuff is extensive and very interesting.
Yeah, we had a sort of quick look at it when we were flicking through. But one of the things they also do, which was quite recent, was they did like the kits for the knights. So if you wanted to do like kit bashed styled Imperial Knights and stuff, the Fallen Knights bundle.
There we go, Fallen Knights.
Yeah, so
check this stuff out.
That goes over the frame, the standard plastic frame of the Imperial Knights with a new sort of chaos look to it, which I think is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's alternative armor and that kind of thing, which was then done by Forge World and that kind of stuff. But it's really nice to see someone doing their own little thing for it as well. So,
and if you're rocking a Chaos Knight, things like that generally tend to be features on the battlefield anyway. So spending a bit more to make your own, again, sort of more unique or more detailed is worth it, because it's something that will be a standout piece.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, you could also, as you can see here, just collect basically an entire orc army just from Kromlech if you wanted to.
Just orcs galore. I mean, I found some flyers.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like the guy chucking the bomb out.
Yeah, well, some people have bomb bay doors or clever levers, and some people just have a sack of bombs on their knees. They just reach into and chuck at people.
Yeah.
Although weirdly, that is how combat began in World War One with aircraft.
Yeah, throw a brick out the side of your biplane. Or whatever.
They used to throw. They made like lawn darts, like just big spikes that they would wing down at people in the trenches, and that's how aerial combat began.
It's very Warhammer.
So orcs have just went, you know what? We don't need to improve on that. Gravity takes care of everything, so we're good to go.
And they've got a whole range of squats up by the looks of them too.
Squats.
I think
I've not seen their squats. What?
I think this is what we're on. Something like that.
Yeah.
Betsy, they are squats. Oh my god!
How did you
they
miss
had
those?
these? Yeah.
Well, you gotta go and check this section out here. Click there, right?
Don't click there.
Look at that.
Oh no!
Focus, Ben. Focus.
Because this would be a good opportunity to do a Forge Fathers Force now and use these guys in Warpath or something.
Oh yeah, or Dead Zone. Oh, you could get a really nice Dead Zone Force. I mean, I was going to say cheaply. It'll be more expensive than buying the actual Dead Zone models, but because you have a huge army, you can do the little bespoke things.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So
I approve.
It's an absolutely gigantic range of stuff here.
Chances are, if you can think of it or you're after it, it's in there somewhere. And jugs. You don't see enough jugs and stuff. Especially in... you tend to see them... And this is... I know RPG players will do this, and they're wrong because they shouldn't be using miniatures in RPGs. But you'll find it for historics. You'll find companies will make produce and jugs and things to put on the tables in your buildings. You have that. But when we play sci-fi, you rarely put the furniture into a building. Whereas if you're playing, I mean, you've got the massive cathedrals, so somebody will have like a squad inside and then somebody else will assault them, but inside there's nothing there. Whereas having pews and then having a altar to the emperor at one end that they can fight around or through, or fighting through a tavern, and that's make it look lived in, make it look like an actual real world thing. Yeah,
it's one of the things I always hate about like seeing some terrain that people put down the table and then there's nothing in the building. Yeah. It's like, what is the point? If you're going to have a really nice building or something, have tables and chairs and all sorts in it and that kind of thing. So
I'm currently doing some pots for my Dark Age / Roman stuff, because it's not a village if there are no pots and things sitting around outside.
Yeah, you've gone potty in lockdown.
I have gone potty in lockdown, yeah.
When you remember Time Team, right? They always find pieces of pots.
Always pots.
So there's got to be pots in the historical war
When
games.
you see how I paint those, because they're all glued to cocktail sticks, and I've got a Dremel, and my plan is to spin the Dremel and just put, a paintbrush and put it there, so it'll give me perfect rings and stuff, instead of trying to hand paint it, because you can change the speed in the Dremel. So I'm not going to spin it so it's freaking out. But I think pots, jugs, and bottles are the way forward. I want to see more actual lived-in pieces on the tabletop. I want to see, cars in infinity. That's great. Why do we not see them in 40k? Why do we not see what, these orcs haven't just arrived into an empty, sterile, abandoned imperial city. There must have been civilians there. There must have been things going on, and it's a very good way of doing scattered terrain anyway. So I want to see more. I want to see more non-army stuff from people. Anyway, yes, kudos to Kromlech for doing jugs.
Yeah, doing jugs. Before we move on from Kromlech, we should definitely touch on the historical stuff that they did, because I didn't even know they did historical stuff until we literally sat down for filming, and you went, "Have you seen this?" And I went, "Nope." Check this stuff out, peeps.
So yeah, they are fond of doing the Polish. I suppose one of these things, Polish company, Polish sculptors, obviously they'll be interested in doing this, and it's nice to see, because so often you see the main 4 or 5 nations that fought in World War II, always, every time a new range comes out, it will be German or British or American or Soviet or blah, 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 blah. There were an awful lot of people fighting in other countries, and for a short amount of time or fighting longer, as partisans, and they never really get a particularly wide range, or if you want to do fins, you're often just told, whether you can buy these heads from this company, and then otherwise just use Germans, because they mostly got their stuff from Germany. And here, actually having a fairly extensive range of Polish, yes, it's a very short period of fighting at the start in 39, but it's a very important part of Second World War. In fact, possibly the most important part, apart from the end.
This is when I was looking at this range and putting it together into like news stories and things, couple sort of like a year ago or whatever. This is where I learned about how fierce the fighting was of a lot of the Polish troops as well. Like a lot of the time they tend to get made like a joke of, sort of like, they were rolled over. They were just the people that got invaded.
You hear an awful lot of what was essentially the German propaganda.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll hear people talk about Polish cavalry attacking German tanks and stuff like that, which didn't happen. I think there was one cavalry regiment did attack a armored force, but they knew what they were doing, and they didn't ride up on their horse and hit it with a sword, which is
they're
German.
not idiots. Yeah,
they're not idiots. But post Second World War, that has stuck. Whereas in actual fact, yes, they capitulated relatively quickly, but the fighting was intense, and the fighting, they fell back in waves up to the defense of Warsaw. So it's not like it was a one and done, we're in, we're out with no casualties type of thing. It was extensive, and they had a very good military. They were being crushed on both sides as well.
That's it. We've touched on this a couple of times. It's basically, you can't fight on 2 fronts on your own.
No.
You couldn't take on the likes of Russia, the Soviet Union, and
we learned this from Londo Malaria and Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Only an idiot fights a war on 2 fronts. Only the heir to the throne of the kingdom of idiots fights a war on 17 fronts. And it's the same sort of thing. The Russians say they didn't invade Poland. They did. Dress it up whatever way you want. You can't go, we didn't invade Poland, we invaded the fascist occupied. But yeah, balls. You were knee deep in there right from the get-go. So it's really nice to see an early war army. And I think especially if you're a bolt action player, 1930 or 39 to 41 is a fantastic period to play. Not only do you get the sort of the initial American landing in North Africa, but you get a lot of small armies. You don't have the ridiculous tanks. Not everybody is going to be fielding IS-2s and Tiger 2s everywhere. So the army that exists is capable of being knocked out by infantry with some form of armament. So it makes it a more interesting game. And being able to play smaller, tighter games like this are more interesting, they're more thematic, they're more historically accurate, dare I say it, than everybody playing the same late war Germans, the same late war Americans with Pershings, and just these seeing things like that. The Polish armored car, which is very similar to the British Rolls Royce, may have actually been based on the Rolls Royce. But late war it would be laughable, but in early war it's a more complex challenge. So certainly this range is very good for that.
This range is epic. I had no idea it was going to be this extensive.
Yeah, they started off just doing the infantry, and then they walked through to do sort of the cavalry options and the command options, and then just basically moved on to all the guns and vehicles as well. So
here we go, the Cav. I love this bit about the early war. I like the idea of there being horses and tanks fighting with each other, essentially.
Yeah. I mean,
even the Germans during this period had a serious amount of mounted units as well.
More of their stuff was still horse-based than actually automated. Again, that's more German propaganda, the fact that they weren't all sitting in half-tracks and towing everything with machinery. When they went into Poland, certainly, and when they went into France, a large amount was still regular, sort of interwar horse-pulled carriages and that sort of thing.
And that's what interests me about the early war, Jerry, is this idea of, let's have large cavalry units. And you're like, what? In World War II? You're like, yeah. When do you see this? This is going to be epic.
Yeah. It's an excellent way to get around the table. And if you have a comparable force in late war, the only difference would be instead of being on horses, they might be on motorbikes.
Yeah. So just to round that off, they even do terrain and stuff then for Poland.
Yep, they do.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I mean, regardless of whether you're playing late, early, or whatever, that's perfect for Eastern Front. Whether you'll be playing First World War or even earlier, you could play Napoleonics. This would work for it as well. So that this is just a great range of terrain that works for that geographic location and covers probably about 100, 150 years, because there won't be any noticeable changes from mid to late 1800s through to sort of mid 1900s. It's fine for that.
Yeah.
Effectively, the range they do allows you to play out, an entire campaign in Poland during that sort of period of history, really. So it's very cool. And I believe actually there's a bolt action supplement that sort of focuses on that, I think, now, which you could pick up and stuff. So there's definitely stuff out there for you to go and check out. So
so if you're into 40k, there's stuff for you. If you're into fantasy, there's probably stuff for you. I didn't expect the big historical thing. Hey, historical players. But you're surprised too. You're thinking, I'm going to tune out because it's all going to be sci-fi and fantasy. Heck no! Epic! I didn't expect that at all.
Money supermarket.
So if you visit kromlech.eu, there'll be a wee button that you can click that'll then take you through to Bits of War. Is it bitsofwar.com, which is their main website for selling?
Just hit the online store. Online store takes you through to that.
And then in there you'll find the tabletop scenics and all that goodness.
Yeah.
Right. Looking forward to that on Monday. Right, chappies. Let's get stuck in with the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Right, Ben, time for your news. Let's get it squeezed in before you go off and do your drilling sergeant?
Don't drill your sergeant.
Drill your sergeant.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Ironizing between the ranks is not allowed.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea. So don't be drilling your sergeant.
I won't do that. No. Yeah,
the action man Ben haircut's throwing me.
Yeah, I'm going to focus my eagle eyes on the news. So the first little bit of news that we're going to be looking at is from Games Workshop, because they are back in the swing of things when it comes to pre-orders and previews and all that kind of good stuff. And the first sort of bit of news from them this week was the Skies of Fire main box coming out for Aeronautica Imperialis. You could also say the Imperialis bit with that kind of tone of voice. So this is a new starter set for the game that will come with both the Imperial Navy and a whole bunch of new ships and sort of planes for them. Not ships, planes for them. And also the Tau Navy as well, or the Tau Navy. Tau Navy. So you've got a whole bunch of new fighters in there for both sides. You've also then got the rulebook and then all the sort of tokens and bits and pieces you need to play the game. This is the kind of reinvention of Aeronautica Imperialis that now takes place on sort of like a hex grid style map rather than the sort of standard tabletop layout that a lot of people will know from the past. And beyond that, going into additional features and things, you've got the Taros Air War book there, which is a campaign book. So this allows you to play out a narrative, a sort of driven campaign between the two sides, the Imperial Navy and the Tau Navy, in the skies above a planet, because the Imperial Navy are sort of coming in to try and occupy the planet and destroy the Tau, and the Tau are trying to fight back. One of the cool things about what comes in that book is they've actually said that there are a bunch of sort of scenarios that don't just take place in the standard settings for air combat. So you've got some air combat that takes place underground, so in like big massive caverns underneath the planet. You've got something that happens up near sort of like atmosphere. So it's like all about the threat about nearly being in space and all that kind of thing as well. So there's some really cool little bits and pieces they've thrown in there to tweak things.
Nearly being in space. I know a boy who's got a haircut that looks like he should be in space. You right there, Buzz? Yeah.
Very good.
Right?
I get it.
I wonder if I wonder if the upper Atmos stuff changes how some of the fighters actually act.
I think it might do. I think they might have put some stuff in there for sort of like maneuverability and that kind of thing. I think that'd be really cool. Sort of seeing how that works and stuff. And this sort of leads me on to talk about all the different types of planes that they've got coming out as well, because what they've done with this new set and all the expansions coming forward is that they've decided to sort of add to the range rather than sort of rehash stuff that was in the first set. So you've got the Imperial Navy Lightning Fighters there. There's the Navy Valkyrie Assault Carriers as well, which I know a lot of people will be familiar with.
Interesting seeing the Valkyries popping up, yeah.
Yeah. So these are typically sort of troop transports and that kind of thing, but they've been sort of added in. Because one of the core elements of like Aeronautica Imperialis as well is that it's not just about the fight in the air, it's also about controlling ground assets as well. So that sort of like the Valkyries and the assault carriers can have like an impact on sort of rescuing troops and
they also have
the ground and that kind of thing. So
their VTOL in 40k, so it'd be interesting to see that as well, because obviously Lightning and Thunderbolts and that sort of thing are all regular aircraft, so they don't have that capability, and therefore they're always moving, always flying. The ability to be able to just hover in one spot for the Imperial
could be pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
it's a good point. I didn't know where you were going with it until just then. I was like,
the fact that you're working on a high space thing, and therefore you're always having to move, because if you stop, you drop out of the air because of gravity. But it throws an extra level for the Imperial players. So yeah. Curious.
On the sort of Tau side of things, which is the side that I'm more interested in, because I used to play Tau back in the day.
Even with your 40k haircut for the Space
even with my Space Marine haircut, because I've just gone through the Primaris process. I've crossed the Rubicon Primaris, and it's not worked out. You can see by my body. But on the sort of Tau side of things, for the Aircast, we've got the Barracuda fighters, and then there's also the Tiger Shark fighter bombers, and the Tiger Shark X-10s as well. So Tau aircraft have always been one of these kind of like aspirational things that everyone has always really, really wanted, but they've always been exceptionally expensive from the Forge World.
Because they've always been this bloody size.
They have also been, they have been absolutely massive, about the size of like a man's wingspan, arm span would be
playing too much burrs and badgers.
It would be cheaper to go to the ocean, drag a ray out,
and use that,
pose it in position, and spray paint it.
Yeah, stick some bits onto it and stuff. But
which is something everybody should be trying.
No, don't try that, kids. Don't try that.
The Aircast stuff, I think, is looking really, really cool, and it's a really interesting sort of additional look at the Tau in general, because obviously a lot of the time we focus on the Firecast, which is the sort of ground troops, so your fire warriors and that kind of thing. but it's always nice to see some other elements of Tower Society, and the aircast in general here look really cool. And it's really nice to see some of their ships that you would normally not really be able to see. It'd be very cool to see what they do next as well, because a lot of people were hedging their bets on what was going to be the next set, and they were suggesting maybe Eldar, throw some Corsairs and stuff into the mix and that kind of thing. But
that's true.
Yeah.
Eldar would be a beautiful set to see.
Oh yeah,
I would almost say I would like to see a Eldar versus Dark Eldar.
That would be very cool. Yeah.
And just go, you know what? Yeah, it's Aeronautica Imperialis, but for this next set, Sodges, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because seeing things like the Vampire Fighters and the Phoenix and that sort of thing up against the various Dark Eldar Raider ships would just look amazing.
Or, of course, Necrons are going to be a big focus of 9th edition. Throw the Croissant ships into the mix.
Crescent moons everywhere.
Crescent, yeah. Additional thing for anyone who's looking at buying some stuff for this weekend. So all of this is going to be live tomorrow on store.ontabletop.com. And obviously on Games Workshop, of course. But come to us first. You'll also be able to buy...
Swing!
You'll also be able to buy sets of themed dice. So there's going to be a set of themed dice for both the Imperial Navy and the Tau Aircast. And then there's also going to be like a new fold-out mat as well. So if you don't want to play on the sort of stuff from the main box, you can buy a separate mat and that kind of thing too, which is very cool. Oh, and also a pack of cards for like fighter races and things. So if you want to have characters that you want to actually use in your games rather than just sort of bog standard fighter pilots, then you'll have that option as well, which is very cool. So,
do you see this box set, gents? Let me see.
Yes.
Let me share this. Does this just contain what's in the other box sets, or are the other box sets different to what's in this box set?
No, the other box sets are different.
Yes.
Okay. So just wanted to. So they're definitely expansions on top of this then.
Yeah. So the previous one to this, which I can't remember, I think it was just called Air War.
Yeah.
Was it? Was called Wings of Vengeance. That was the original one.
What was that?
That was Imperials versus Orcs, but they had a couple of different fighters and stuff in that box.
Yeah, I think it was Thunderbolt was the standard Imperial rather than a Thunderbolt fighter, and then the Marauder bomber, I think.
Yeah.
Were the
So
Imperial.
there is a reason to buy this set if you have already bought the original one. So yeah.
What I meant, maybe I didn't make myself clear, is the other box sets that we've looked at just now. Or different to the ships that are in this box set, or
I think they're
no,
they're
additions. So
they're sorry.
So these are add-ons, yeah.
So the Valkyrie assault carriers are in there, and the Lightning are in there, but you can.
Oh, they're in this box set because it looks like they were in there.
Yeah. So you can get the Skies of Fire box that has these two forces, or if you just go, I don't care about the Tau, because sod China in your hand and all that. Sorry, that was Tapau. I always get it mixed up. But if you don't want both factions, you can just go in if you've already got the Imperial faction.
And just buy the extra
and just
stuff,
get the Lightning, get the Valkyries to add to your existing force. Or if you want to start a whole new Tau force, you can just do it with those. And nobody wants the Imperial anyway. They're space fascists.
So if you just want to get stuck in with the Tau, buy this book and buy these three box sets.
Buy those box sets, yeah.
Yep, definitely. Yep.
Sweet. What's up next, Ben?
So this leads us on to talking about another little bit of more ground-based Warhammer 40,000 news. And last week we had a little bit of speculation about the sort of Crusade mode of play within the new edition of 40k. Pardon me. So the Crusade.
Guess who's got a haircut for it?
Me. Yeah, there you go. This is the Scout style.
Sorry, this is just going to amuse me forever. I love it.
So with Crusade, what you do is that you set up a narratively focused force. So you begin the game with 50 power. So power is the sort of like wide-reaching sort of way of building an army within 40k that doesn't require you to do the minutiae of grenades and all that kind of thing and that stuff. So you make a 50 power force based on a whole bunch of different units, and then when you come to play games, you'll draw from that in order to put together your forces to play on the table. So for example, a start collecting set would probably be around sort of like 50 power when you get it to
so something like this then.
So that's one of the new Primaris Phobos ones, I believe, for the start collecting stuff. Then from there, any game you play will then earn your army experience. Now that experience could be put towards earning new war gear and sort of like iconic weapons and guns and that kind of thing. It could be to increasing your sort of power limit so that you can buy more units to go into your army and that kind of thing. So a good way of, sort of being like, what's the next unit you want to buy, sort of like from Games Workshop, go out and get that, add it to your army. That's part of your sort of expansion of the army kind of thing going forward. But as well as sort of earning experience and getting new weapons and new units and that kind of thing, there's also what's called the battle scar system in there as well. So characters, maybe unit leaders, vehicles and that kind of thing can take damage when they die and that kind of stuff. And that could have negative effects within your characters. Not so much that they are completely useless, but it kind of adds a little bit more sort of like character into the mix. Like one of the ones they talked about was sort of like walking wounded. So you could have a Space Marine captain that is now sort of like a little bit, had his leg blasted off by an orc or something. And so now his movement is a little bit more reduced in game, but sort of adds to the character of everything going forward. You can play a Crusade army against anybody. You just have to sort of agree with your opponent, as you would do with any game. Can I use my Crusade army, etc.? Because it might have a few bits and pieces sort of added on. And you just have to sort of sit down for a little while and calculate a little bit of the balancing between the two forces. But it's pretty simple to do. But then what that effectively means, whatever game you play, if you want to make it a narratively focused force, you can just use your Crusade force against anyone and move forward from there. So it's a really interesting way of sort of building up from that kind of start collecting set and adding lots of character and story and narrative to your force legitimately through the rules, I think, which is really cool.
So you're talking about the start collecting set. So if I just go to our own story, this sort of stuff here, you're talking about pick one of these up and then just expand it a little bit.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Because I think it's interesting they've gone with the power system, which makes a lot of sense because theoretically power system is for fun, easy pickup games. It's not hardcore. It's not the Battle Forged. I've got 1997 points that I've worked out meticulously. You're just going 50 points. It's the equivalent of 1,000-point army or whatever it happens to be, and you're picking from it. You're not going, this is always what I've got. So if you're expanding your roster through winning, you're not expanding what your opponent's going to be facing. You're expanding the pool you can draw from. And that is a balancing mechanism in and of itself, because we were worried it was going to be the usual campaign creep where one person wins and at that point they become unassailable because they'll just keep winning and keep getting better and better. Whereas here you've got that, I've got 50 points, you've got 70 points, but we're both playing 30 points of that. So yes, you've got a bit more to pick from than me, but you know, we're still on a level playing field as far as this game goes. And even when it comes to playing somebody who's not part of the campaign, power is power, you know, going, oh, well, you've got your campaign force. Well, I've got these Seraphim over here that are tooled to the nines because they can be. You know, who cares? Go nuts.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. I mean, they've pushed this kind of idea in Kill Team and Warcry on the sort of Age of Sigmar front as well. And one of the big things with Warcry is that you could play your warband against anybody, and that would allow you to progress it and sort of take it through the sort of narrative of that force. So having that thing sort of bolted into the main rules of the new edition of 40k, I think is a really good idea. And it kind of plays into the idea of that sort of gaming in the gaps that we've always talked about as well, where you come up with cool ideas for your characters and that kind of thing. Like the amount of times I've played 40k and done campaigns with my friends back in the day, and even though things went terribly badly for my force, there was always something cool and characterful that came out of it, you know, with like a crew commander or someone that was able to kill a whole bunch of scalps or something like that, and then he got dragged down, so he took like a little bit of ballistic skill off him or something, and that kind of thing. It's all just that kind of nice gooey story stuff that I think really ties together games of 40k and Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar.
Why are your orcs wearing top hats?
Exactly, yeah. We stole them from a hattery.
Show you now why my orcs are wearing top hats, and you're going to regret mocking them.
Exactly, yeah. It's that kind of cool stuff that allows you to do things like converting and that kind of stuff in the future. Say your guy loses an eye, well, try and do some converting for bionics and that kind of thing. Cool stuff like that. So, yeah.
Sweet. Just before we move on from 40k stuff, you guys were looking at new releases and stuff that are coming up last week.
We were looking at the Space Marines and the Necrons.
I had this epic picture that popped up. Did it have all this text on it for a start? What is
It
that?
did, yes.
I was looking at that and thinking, if one of us put all this text on this.
No. This was them, and this is how we were navigating around this picture, going, what about the such and such? Do you mean the wump, or do you mean the look at the size of that thing? I mean the wump. Okay, fair enough.
Because I love the what is that? And this other thing over here, because I looked at them and I thought, do you know what? With all the 15 mil ranges and stuff we've been looking at recently, these would make epic tripods from Mars.
They would, yeah.
Weirdly, the 12-inch,
sir.
the 12-inch final version of War of the Worlds arrived at my house this week.
No.
Oh yeah. The chances of anything coming from Mars
are 1,000,000 to 1, he said.
So yes.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, they're not tripods because they got 4 legs. Quad pods.
I love the bit where there's what's the Wrathchild, or what's the ship called? And they're all getting on the ship and trying to sail away, and it's shooting at the tripods.
Oh yes.
Downs one of them and stuff. Oh, I'm gonna have to go and listen to this. I have.
Oh, you really should.
On CD, but not vinyl, Jerry. Vinyl.
What the hell's a CD? It's Richard Burton's narration as well.
Oh, cool.
I ran up Primrose Hill and it resolve took me. I would give myself then and there to the Martians.
If you've never listened to this, Ben, you have to do this after.
I have not listened to this. No.
War of the Worlds.
We'll do it on Discord some night. I'll just play it and we'll just stream it.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Anyway, because you were harshly relegated, Lloyd. You didn't get to play with us while we discussed the new 40k and the Necrons. Notice how none of them are Tau or Crit.
Yeah.
They're not going to get the love at the moment. No.
Here you go, Ben. This is what you're looking for, mate. Oh, where did my big picture go? I had a nice big picture. Where did it go? Oh.
No.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Right.
I was going to say technical fail, but
this will be one of the best things you'll ever listen to. Go and get yourself this, mate.
I will have to do so.
I'm pretty sure you could probably just listen to it from YouTube. I think
it's probably on there somewhere. Yeah,
an official version of it up somewhere.
Or if you wait until Christmas, Sainsbury's, for some unknown reason, have paid the rights for one of the songs. So during the you know how the supermarkets play shit Christmas music, on repeat.
Yeah.
One of the War of the World songs is on there, and like every 2 to 3 hours it comes round. And you're going, so amongst all this weird Christmas stuff, you just hit a War of the World song.
That's brilliant.
Why is that in there? It was the high point of my day when I used to work there. It was just like, oh, I'm so glad, this song was on, and not bloody this is Christmas or so it's Christmas time or sort of Paul McCartney. Don't want to hear you anymore. Anyway.
Oh. But look at the tripods. Look at the tripods. How about using Necron stuff for that? Look at that. Where'd it go?
It would be. Well, I have no idea where it's going.
I've lost my image.
No, well, we can see it, but you're opening everything. It would be interesting, especially when you take what is essentially a 32 mil sci-fi model and then just stick just take a rake of 15 mil World War I and World War II and just have them stomping across the battlefield. How's that for gaming in the gaps? Yeah,
it'd be very cool. Yeah.
It'd be absolute gaming in the gaps.
This is taking a turn of the surreal, hasn't it? Weren't expecting this when we went Aeronautica Imperialis.
No, I thought 40k.
40k.
There you go. I'm totally doing that, because when you go looking for tripods and stuff, you'll come across ones like model kits from like Pegasus models and stuff like that.
Will.
But they're really hard to get. Like they're out of stock and this, that, and the other. And then there's some other ranges that have done like 15 mil versions, but they're like this small. And I'm thinking, that 28 mil jobby like this with my 15 mil troops, suits me.
Suit you.
Suit you, sir.
Just look at you like this, sir. Pew pew pew.
Yes. Get the album, Ben. Get the album.
It's on the list, all right? Jeez. Okay. But before we get too sidetracked, I'm going to move us on to the next news story. And so we're stepping away from weird World War and sci-fi and instead delving into the pulpy weirdness of Lovecraftian horror. And Mythos, Warcradle Studios have put out a new faction set, which is now available to pre-order for the Custos Crypta in the world of Mythos. So in this set, you get a Crypt Guardian, Victoria Taylor, Sarah Hyrot, 2 Crypt Grubs, and then a Crypt Sham as well. So this is one of the sets that
A Crypt Sham!
A Crypt Sham. Yeah.
Shambo!
Shambo! So this again was another one of the sets that came out originally when Mythos first released, but they have revamped and retooled the characters to sort of bring them in line with their sculpting style. And as you can see, they're looking very, very nice indeed. This now brings the collection of factions for Mythos up to 4 now. So you've got the Priory, who are the sort of investigators, the Arkham-style investigators. You've got the hidden ones that are a bit more Cthulhu-based. You have the Wildborn, I think they're called, the Wildborn, who are the slightly more feral witchcraft-style characters. And then you have these ones, which are the Custos Crypta, which are much more Egyptian-themed, but with a twist as well. So there's some really nice sort of tweaks and twerks within the background for these ones, which is very cool.
I love it, because you've got with Mythos, they all have a grounding, if that's the right word, and it probably isn't. They'll have a grounding in the Lovecraft mythos, but with a very distinct twist to them. So the investigators are investigators. That's fine. We all know they're going to go mad and die in the end. But you've got, like you were saying, you've got the Watley-like sort of New England witchery type people with the Wildborn. You've got the Innsmouth look, Kingsport, Fishmen, Dagon, all of that for that. And this set is very much in the vein of the Dark Pharaoh, the Nyarlathotep, Egyptian cults, but again with that twist. So it's not like they've just taken the description from a specific Lovecraft or August Derleth book. They've taken the idea, the sort of the essence of that, what this madness would be, and then they went, what if we make one of them a scarab beetle centaur or
exactly.
A scarab sphinx or whatever it happens to be, and you're going, yeah, why not? And if anybody argues, they'll get taken to the moon by cats, so that's all good.
The thing I like about this as well is that it allows you to break out a slightly different palette of colours.
Yeah,
because obviously when it comes to kind of Arkham and that kind of idea of Cthulhu and Lovecraftian stuff, there's very much that kind of idea of dark greens and blues and that kind of thing. But because this is slightly more Egyptian themed, break out the colour shift paints, do something a bit different with the scarab-style carapaces and that kind of thing to make it look like proper beetles and stuff. And then give it like a little bit of a tweak. So add some dark purples and stuff into the mix as well. I think that would look really, really cool for this particular faction.
Take a lot of inspiration from X-Men Apocalypse, the best X-Men movie.
Colour shifting down their arse is such a good idea.
Yeah.
It would be a good idea.
I mean, when you look at the investigators for Mythos, there is nothing about them that says it's a North America / Western Europe look to them. They could quite happily be in a desert table fighting this Kryptos faction quite happily. Especially you've got the investigator who's got his vest on and the sleeves rolled up and casting the flame, but he would look equally at home with the sand base as he does with a
cobbled streets of Arkham
street or whatever. Yeah. He just looks the period, and that's good enough because he's one pith helmet away from riding a camel into the shipping stands. At which point he's got to deal with land sharks, and that's going to go wrong. So hey,
now I want to go and watch The Mummy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mummy's idea. If anybody isn't into Lovecraft, which not everybody is for some reason. The Mummy's a fine example of what Mythos can be as a game, where you've got that something's evil in the desert and it's a bit woo, it's a bit wee, it's a bit skeezer, and you need to go out there with a shotgun and deal with that. Shotgun and a bit of magic and have it. Except
the 3D modelling for Mythos is better than the movie.
But certainly better than the Scorpion King anyway.
Because it was
Rock the Dwayne Johnson was particularly bad in that.
There is a corridor crew or something out there. There's a YouTube channel, and they take bad effects and they turn it up. So they use this. Do you know the way there's this new software, the AI stuff that'll stick people's faces onto other people?
Yes.
Oh,
They basically use that
Deep-faking.
to put to deep fake the Rock's face onto the CG version of the Rock, and it is actually a lot better. They should probably They should probably do that and re-release it.
To be fair, it was a few years ago,
True.
and they didn't want to spend any money on it, which I think is more important.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, Ben, go on.
I was going to say, and the main thing about the Mummy is that it's come up with so many lovely memes. And if anyone ever says that they have all the things, you can just say, "Well, you're on the wrong side of the river." And show it. So, it's great.
Nice camel, Benny.
It's a good point. Yeah. The Mummy's not good for me. I seen the first one in the cinema, which was grand, with the girlfriend at the time.
It was amazing.
Then I went
on a QCon weekend.
Then I went to see the follow-up, the Mummy
Returns.
Mummy Returns,
Yeah.
that's it. And the Mummy returned, but my girlfriend never did return.
Oh, swing and a miss.
That was like, oh, right, that's a pretty big hint there. So that was the end of that. Yes. I'm not sure if this is going to be the faction for me, because I don't know if I like. It's terrible memories.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Lack of girlfriends.
Well, don't worry. There are 3 other factions for you to choose from right now. So that's all good.
This one reminds me of something we ate last year, Jerry. The wings in the OnTableTop food eating challenge.
It was delightful, and barbecuey.
All that stuff was as dry as the desert.
Yeah, I've got a handful of hard dust for you to eat.
Oh, let's move on. Dust.
Yeah. So we're moving on to some news from Fantasy Flight Games. Now, they have been sort of joining the trend of creating a lot of companies creating solo rules for a lot of their games. And one of the games that they've done it for this week, or it was over the weekend last week, was X-Wing. So you wouldn't have thought that you could make a solo set of rules for X-Wing, but FFG have put together a alpha rules version of it that you can download and play around with right now. It uses sort of like an inbuilt sort of AI for the individual ships that you'll be going up against.
Solo ships.
Based on where they are in relation to you, they're positioning on terms of flanks and that kind of thing, because obviously everything's done via the the sort of segments and that kind of thing on the ships and stuff. Based on where they are and sort of what weapons they have and their intent and their target, they will do specific maneuvers and that kind of thing. Yeah. They have said that it will be very complicated to begin with, but once you sort of get your head around it and play a couple of test games, you'll be okay. So
I think the main thing is the charts. It's knowing what your charts are, and that sort of thing. So
which one to use.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is if you play X-Wing, you know that you've got a dial and you pick your maneuver, and then everybody reveals the maneuver. The solo ships don't. Instead, what you do is you pick your maneuver, and then based on
what you do and stuff,
a priority list, you'll go, okay, the solo are always your enemies. Your solo ship will then go, okay, who is my tally? I don't know why they've chose tally as a name for target.
All right.
Yeah,
I think it's because that would be a term in fighting, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, you pick your tally based on a priority. So you go, who's in my bullseye? No one. Who's in my front arc? No one. Who's in my side arc? No one. Yeah. Who's in my rear arc? Okay, him. Who's the closest? So you work your priority first. That gives you your target for that ship, and then you roll one of each of the dice, and because the dice have unique symbols, it gives them a large bank of priority. So you may have somebody in your front arc, but then you roll the dice and your fighter decides he's not going to engage there. He's decided to crap his pants and leave. So it's not always automatic that the ship will just go, you're there, I'm going to fly forward and attack you. It'll go, you're there, I'm not going to go full forward, I'm going to maybe back away, or I'm going to glide off here and keep you in arc. So it's that AI bit is going to be the most complicated part to get into, and will probably require crib sheets forever. But once you start playing a few games, it's relatively easy.
But that kind of sums up most of my X-Wing games where I'll be flying this way,
To be brutally
and
honest,
someone's flying behind me, and I'm going to continue on, and someone's going like this, and I've gone like that, and we're like this the whole time.
Yeah. And to be fair, most of your X-Wing games are how many TIE defenders or TIE bombers can I put all the shields and all the hit points? Yeah.
The thing that I think is really good about this, though, is that it kind of gives you that entry point for maybe if you like really get your head around how this works, and then you want to introduce someone into playing X-Wing, then this is a really good way to do it. And I think that's the case for a lot of solo rules, is that if you could do it and play with yourself and a friend controlling another ship, suddenly you can be like, we're going to learn how to play X-Wing, but I'm not going to screw you over by beating you because I know how to play the game.
What? What's the fun in that then?
It becomes, you can use it as a cooperative rule set.
Yeah.
Because, and this is another part of the solo rules, you work out what you're playing, and then you work out what the terrible ships that are going to dash themselves on you are, and when you hit like turn 4, so let's say you're playing X-Wings against TIEs, you'd be playing X-Wings against TIEs, but then they have a reinforcement bank of TIE interceptors, and then they have a super reinforcement. I can't remember. They've got like 3 levels where it's like crap, slightly better again, and at the end of turn 4 you go, we've killed no one, so they get reinforcements of more crap. So all of a sudden now you haven't killed anybody, but now you're fighting like 4 crap things. Or at turn 4 you've killed both of them. They'll go, okay, in that case the reinforcements arrive and they're much better. Or you maybe have only killed one. You go, okay, well you get 1 crap and 1 good reinforcement. So it's waves. It's like a computer game where the amount of chaff you deal with works out what the next level of chaff is you're getting. If you haven't managed to take down the worst ships, then you're going to get more worse ships. If you have dealt with them competently, you're going to get a more difficult target coming next, and you get a progression, you get an escalation, and like they say themselves in the rules, you could potentially take this and push it beyond the suggested sort of 50 points. You could go for mass fleet engagements on a 6x4 table and play something more like Asteroids, where it never ends. It just keeps getting progressively harder until you die, and how much can you cope with, which is just great to see. And it's really interesting that they've taken X-Wing, which is a game I would go, you couldn't make a solo version of this,
and they've somehow done it.
And they've done it, and you're going, okay, touche, FFG. So once you've finished noting that powder, give me that for Legion.
Well, it actually
that'd be great.
It's actually a game that suits. They might be able to do it for Legion because it is kind of a game that actually suits being done like that, because you have specific maneuvers,
specific measuring templates,
and you've got specific decisions.
Yeah.
So the decisions are driven off the dial. It's not like you just decided to go, I'm only going to go slightly this way, and I'm going to do this, because the decisions are all there and the measurements are all there. It was actually quite a good candidate for going down an AI route.
Yeah.
Whether it's exciting or not, playing it as an AI route is a different.
I think that's where it's a cool idea to. Obviously, playing it solo is a great idea, but I think playing it with another person and doing like thing where you control 2 ships and they control 2, or 1, etc. I think that would be a really cool idea, because then you share the burden of the rules learning as well. Kind of.
Are you saying? So it would be me and you tag team against
against an X-Wing each. Yeah. You become red 5 and red 1.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
I'd be red, and you can be blue 1.
I could be blue 1.
You don't. No, you don't want to be blue squadron.
Oh no, they didn't they? Yeah.
They all died in blue squadron.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure blue all got through the shield and all got wiped out.
Yeah, it's opposite of Star Trek, where I'd be like first to get it.
Definitely. In an instant. But yeah.
Very true. Yeah. But yeah, it sounds really cool from them. It's a really neat little thing they put together.
And because it's alpha, they are looking for feedback as well, which is another thing. Yeah. So it's not just this is it. This is the only way you can play solo. If you play this and go, this didn't work because of this reason, let them know, and they can fix it for the rest of us who aren't that fussy. Because there are people out there who are very good at doing this sort of thing.
Very true.
Tweak the rules so we don't have to.
Yeah. After a little bit of X-Wing, we're sticking with the idea of sci-fi stuff. and Monster Fight Club, who are doing all of the official miniatures for our Talsorians Cyberpunk Red, have put together 3 new releases for the beginning of June. So the new releases you can get for Cyberpunk are the Street Scum, who you can see there, who are a set of gangers and stuff that will be taking control of different areas of the city and that kind of thing. You know, they've got a whole bunch of different weapons in the set. All 5 of them are individual, which is
Look how happy that chappy is.
How happy is he?
He does.
They are doing shop protest.
I can specifically tell you that he has a bottle bomb. So the set for the Street Scum,
there you go.
yeah, the set for the Street Scum comes with one with a rifle, one with pistol, one with twin pistols, one with a bottle bomb, and one with a grenade launcher, which is the guy on the back right-hand side. Yeah.
Pew pew.
And then set against them, you've got the corporate heavy style law enforcers as well. This set gives you the riot squad sergeant, 3 officers, and an officer with a riot shield. So if you're looking to put together a little bit of a sort of encounter between sort of street gangs and that kind of thing on the tabletop, then those are the options there. But my favorite of the sets that they've come up with for Cyberpunk Red is the detective and investigation scene set. So this is a much called for detective who, you know, looks slightly familiar to a lot of people, maybe. And he is with what most people have said is a really cool addition, a half man that you can drop onto the tabletop to be a dead dude, right? Because as was brought up by Blinky, 465 from my community over on Facebook, he said he wished that more companies did dead dudes because the amount of times that he sees people just tipping over a miniature and it looks terrible. So having these kind of casualty markers is perfect. So
yeah, but I'm not sure I like the guy actually literally disappearing. Like
his face would be like squeezed into the floor.
Yeah, but if I lie on the ground, half my face doesn't disappear unless it's very.
You know, well, in that case, you sculpt proper corpses.
Yeah. He's been bisected anyway, clearly by some kind of laser beam thing.
Well, if it's cyberpunk, it'll be somebody with a set of wolvers or a monofilament wire, and they've literally cut him in half. So the other half's probably slipped off somewhere else. Deckard's there, just one step away from taking off his sunglasses, going, yeah,
exactly, yeah. So if you're looking to put together some cool scenarios for Cyberpunk Red,
sorry, not Deckard, it's just a solo.
Deckard.
Just a solo.
I thought it was flipping Zoolander.
Zoolander?
Yeah, have another look.
No, not if you're going to say it's Zoolander.
Look at that.
Why would
he's almost blue steel in it there.
Oh dear.
Other eyeball's going to explode. Bad that.
But yeah, so Monster Fight Club have been doing effectively releases every sort of month or so, and coming up with new plastic sets. They're normally up for pre-order for like the first week or so of the month, and then they sort of move into a new one and that kind of thing going forward. But so make sure to check their website still if it's see if there's still sets available and that kind of thing. But they are working on a full-on proper retailer release of basically all of this, and a lot more in the near future.
I imagine we're bound to see Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah. They're going to have to do Johnny Silverhand at some point. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's going to be, because I assume they're going to release a new version of Cyberpunk, which is there at the end of that. There it is. There. Yes, I assume they're going to release a new one, and I wonder if that would just be if you buy it from us, this is the limited edition figure you get with it.
That would be cool.
Because that would make a lot of sense.
Because I know that 2020 is the original. Well, 2020 is not the original version.
No, it's not.
2020 is the one that I know as the original version of Cyberpunk, and then there's the Cyberpunk Red, which is effectively the stopgap between 2020 and 2077, which is going to be the video game coming out from CT Project Red. So so it'd be cool to see what they do with that going forward. Actually,
I imagine if they aren't clever enough to make an official one.
Someone will do it.
I can think of 3 companies right off the bat that will probably have it out before the book hits the shelves. Otherwise,
because I just want to point at him and go, he's breathtaking.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
He is breathtaking.
That's it.
You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. Keanu Reeves, man. Love that man. Yeah.
I look forward to Bill and Ted's whatever.
Yes, it's coming out, isn't it? Yeah.
Did they manage to film it before this whole world-ending malarkey that we're going through.
If they haven't, they can just go ahead and do it while this is going on in the background and go, because as far as I know, the plot is they haven't been able to write the song that's going to end world hunger, climate change, and bring about world peace, and that's what the crux of the thing is. It's the fact that they're supposed to write the song that's going to be amazing and fix everything, and they've got writer's block and have never done it. And I imagine having all of this as the backdrop, they just go, we'll just go out the street and do this, and just go, yeah, man, look at that. 2020 has gone wrong. We need to sit down and get this song now, or it's not. I mean, they can't think of a better time to do it.
They should tweak the movie. Bill and Ted 2020 went wrong.
Yeah.
That's the movie I'd watch.
Gotcha.
We wish we wrote it in 2019.
So that's some really cool stuff from Monster Fight Club. Go check it out if you like your cyberpunk stuff. We're now moving on to just the last piece of news from this week, and it's a little bit of historical for you guys out there. Obviously, we've seen that Warren is putting together his Rangers of Shadow Deep, Joan of Arc mashup kind of thing in 15mm, set during the 100 Years' War. Well, Old Glory 25s, who is a company that a lot of people will probably know as being quite stalwart within the wargaming industry, have come out with a set of 15/18mm miniatures to use within the 100 Years' War. The first selection of miniatures are based on the English. So if you're looking towards putting together an English force, that's been them sort of main focus right now. There's 9 packs available in total over on their web store. And they're all focused around the kind of battles of Cressay, Poitiers, and Agincourt, as we've talked about in previous episodes and that kind of thing. So all available over on there. Yep, so that's the Old Glory 25's website. They've done infantry, longbowmen, knights, man-at-arms, hobblars, who are some of my favourite mounted dudes. Ever since I played Medieval Total War back in the day, the first one. And hobblars were the way that I won every battle, because I'd skirt them around the sides of the army and, rush down all their archers and stuff. I have loved those guys. Good old light cavalry from the medieval period, rather than those heavily armoured knights. Pish posh pish for those guys.
Once again, thank you, Muslim engineering.
Exactly.
Essentially, because the hobblars did not exist until the Crusaders went to the Holy Land and got their ass handed to them by the Saracens.
Oh, right.
I got
that makes sense, yeah.
So the hobblar, the idea of a light cavalry armed with spear or lance and then some form of bow, literally came from Saracens. Then the Crusaders copied them, and then when the Crusades ended, this new unit essentially came back to Europe. And that's where the hobblars came from. So
what's the main difference between this unit and this unit up here?
The unit up there have heavy armor, and therefore weren't really as
the hobblars would wear sort of leather jerkins and chainmail, maybe, or maybe even not even chainmail.
Just the light versus heavy. Then that's
light cavalry versus heavy cavalry. Yeah.
So it's the same sort of weaponry, like the big.
Well, the hobblars would tend to use spears rather than lances, so a bit shorter. Yeah. But and again, depending on where they were, sometimes they would also have bows, and they would just keep running away until the heavy cavalry got tired out, or the horses fell over dead, and then come back and stab people in the head, or nip around the back and stab people in the head. They were very fond of stabbing people in the head. But yeah, it's an excellent range, which I expect to see from Old Glory anyway.
Yeah, the English are as I say, the main force right now, but obviously the French are going to be coming later. So you're going to see codes for all the different French forces to sort of match against the English in the future. So watch out for that if you wanted to play the other side of this conflict during the 100 Years' War. So,
or if you want to branch into the War of the Three Kingdoms and that sort of thing, or
very true.
Scottish Rebellion, a lot of the stuff would do double duty on that.
As we've seen, as we've looked at some other 28mm stuff as well. So
depending on where you are in the world, it's important to note Old Glory have 2 websites.
As all these good old companies do. So
there's an Old Glory US and an Old Glory UK. So if you look at the US one and you're going, oh my God, the expense of getting it shipped in, go back to Google, find the UK version, or vice versa. So yeah.
Cool.
Just
right, Tuffies. Even though he isn't materialistically here, I do think we can summon Warren into the show. Isn't he going to be looking at some sort of mat?
Oh yeah, we'll call down the warren from above.
This is one of my favorite mats ever. If you're into dark horror and grim dark, this is it. I swear to God, I know you're going to think I'm trolling you, but there is something special to talk about here. So, we always talk about the mats, the various mats that the companies like Deep Cut and P-Works and these guys create. But did you know that a lot of these guys also let you do your own custom mats? Okay? So, the guys at Deep Cut know that, especially during lockdown, that my gaming group now consists of my children. So they created me a custom, kind of like RPG mat, because I like to play the My Little Pony role-playing game from Riverhorse with a lot of my kids, and they enjoy it as well. I play all sorts of RPGs. It happens to be one. I have very young children from the ages of between 2 and my eldest is 9. So to be able to roll out something custom, something like this for them, it's just nice. It gives them that sense of wow. So yes, I'm trolling you a little bit with this because yeah, it's got a pony in it. It's got like a Care Bear in it, and it's full of like stars and pink and all that lovely stuff. But what I want to talk to you about is the fact that you can create something more custom to yourself and to the game that you and your buddies or you and your family play. The end result, the detail on this mat is exceptional, and I have no doubt that if you reached out to Deep Cut to work with them on creating a custom mat with you, if you needed some help and assistance, they'd be very happy to do that for you. But again, even on a custom mat, the quality is there. It's no less high quality as something that's been custom produced as you would get from one of their mainstream manufactured mats. So yeah, if ponies and Care Bears are your thing, this is going to be perfect for you.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days. Congratulations if you're a winner!
Well, gentlemen, you don't see that every day. You don't often see a gaming mat covered in Care Bears and unicorns and all sorts of fancy stuff.
Very true, and I think a lot more grim, dark board games or tabletop worlds would be better if they just embraced the changer of the ways and just went full unicorn.
Very true.
Because once you go full unicorn, you never go back.
No. Once you've got the horn, everything else is just a horse.
That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that they have this ability or sort of side run where you can just do these specific gaming mats.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would go all the way Warren has with the unicorns and the stars, but there's certainly a lot you can do with the customization. If you're looking to do a specific game or a specific type of battle.
Let's see. If you want the custom mats, you go here and you go, instead of just browsing the actual mats, you would hit the custom mat section.
Yes.
Yeah. And they've got a variety of things they can do with the custom mats. They can't do it on the double-sided, which is why the double-sided is there specifically to tell you, no, it's a great idea. We're not doing it because we can't. Sling your hook. But they have a couple of options you can go for. The first and the simplest option are overlays. So you can take
this stuff in,
so you can take one of their maps that exists and then put stuff over the top of it. Now, that could be a grid. So there are games out there like of BattleTech that are hex map based, or smaller like SPQR type of movement games, Panzer General, where you've got a hex grid that you need to move across. So they can take a map setting and then just hex grid it, or just put a square grid over the top to allow you to play those type of games with something that they have existing. And those are handy because I know there are a few companies in the States where they have like a Kings of War setup where they take a mat and then they put these specific overlays onto it for a 12-inch circle around the center for domination, or the 2-foot square grid. So essentially you split your 6x4 into 2-foot squares for the push scenarios and the engage and dominate.
Yeah. And if you want,
and not having to measure when you're playing is great. Just going, I'm going to have this, and just put these lines on my map, and I don't care, because then I know that if we're playing this scenario, that circle is in play. If we're playing that scenario, this grid is in play, or that rectangle. These are the key things for the scenario objectives, and not having to go, are you within 12 by 8 of the table edge there, or are you within 24 inches of the center, or are you, having these just printed there cuts out all of the nonsense or the unusual measurements, especially circles of the center spot is pain.
It's cool if you're playing Dust, the grid version, because you could literally just order up a map. It's pretty good.
Yeah. You find a desert or terrain mat or Western Europe mat that they have in there already for bolt action or like, and just go, I want this grid. I want to play the Dust. It's Dust Warfare, isn't it? It's the grid. I can't remember anymore.
It's changed so many times recently.
But yeah,
it's like I think it's Dust 1947 now.
That's the overall title for it.
Yeah,
and then it splits into two flavors.
Yeah, there's Dust Tactics and Dust Warfare, and one uses a grid or something like that. Anyway, just going, I want to play Dust. I want that Northern Europe map. Give me that. Or going, I want to play Meg. I want that, or I want to play Hordes of the Things, or To the Strongest, I think, uses a grid system. No measurements, if memory serves.
So you literally just take this mat and get that done to it then?
And they have like if it's only a minor change, if it's only like a grid overlay or whatever, they have like it's like €10 to chuck something over the top. But they also then conversely do the more extreme unicorn
spiral. You can just upload whatever graphic you want, I think, isn't it? And they'll do something for you.
And that's where you may end up with a slightly more expensive change.
Is this like a custom jobbies here then, these ones with rivers and things? Or
I think so, because I don't think I've seen those in their original lineup, especially one with the bridge and stuff. But
it'd be cool. Sorry, Ben. It'd be cool for you, Jerry, with the likes of well, maybe it's not a big enough map, but if you were doing something like Saga is cool. But I was thinking your Zulu game, for example, Rockstriff, you could have
where you could have
the footprints to set your buildings down on, and have like little warmed bits of paths and stuff.
And because that's a prime example where you have a specific outline for a game, and you go, well, the hospital's here, the church is here, they have the escarpment here, they have the ditch and the ovens, and you have all of these topographical features that are very accurately presented, but you don't necessarily need to actually have them built terrain wise. Just being able to go, well, here's the road, here's the garden, here's the 4-foot escarpment that they built the wall on top of, and just having those actually just printed on there. You go, boom, I'm done. And there are a lot of games like that, even things like specific historical engagements where you can just go, well, Waterloo, I need to have the Huguenot farm on it and that sort of thing. And you can have these topographical maps that you can find. And if you might be playing a specific, like a hex encounter game, you can have a hex map over the top. Or if you're playing a rule set that you've come up with yourself that you want to have these bits and pieces for. Or you might just go completely off book. You might want to go, I want to build a game based on the Warsaw Uprising in World War II, and then get your topographical map of Warsaw, and then
Very
break
true,
down
yeah.
specific
It's good
areas
for-
that are being played in.
It's good for like the aerial maps if you're going to be doing
Yeah.
air-based games, that kind of thing. The thing that I really like the idea of doing it for is because even if you get it on a smaller scale, so like a 3x3 or something, I play a lot of board and card games, and so having either just I know they do standard mats that you can use for board games and card games as a backdrop, so they've got like a wooden floorboard style one and like a tavern table style one. But if you wanted to theme one specifically around a particular game, then you could get like a hellscape style version of one to play Doom on, for example. Maybe you're going to do something a little bit Lord of the Rings based, you'd have like a forest style look to it or something, and then theme it to the board games that you really enjoy playing. And the kind of games where being able to pick up components quite easily is actually quite a useful tool, because the amount of times where you're trying to pick up cards or something off a normal table and you're like, oh, for God's sake.
You're just chasing it across the board. It's interesting you say about that, because Aeronautica that we were talking about earlier.
I was just looking at it going, thinking Aeronautica is a prime example of getting that hex.
Literally just go, well, it plays in the hex. I need the hexes to be this size.
Yeah, work out the sizes for it and lay it
just
out.
give me that.
Yeah.
Just dear people, I want this. Make it work. And because they're doing badgery gub with digital stuff, I don't understand. You could go, well, I want it to be on a methane planet or a Mars planet. Here's the mat you have. Can you do that for me in a purple? Do that for me in a red with green clouds or whatever happens to be. I have no idea what Mars is like. I've never been. I don't travel well, like Guinness. But they can do these things. They can go in. There's a bit of back and forth, and once you've thrashed out what you want and what they're capable of doing, they get it to you within, I think, like a week. So it's a nice option to have there for those specific weird moments where you don't have things on the shelf. I got a company to do me a river at one point, which was just literally a 1 foot wide, 6 foot long river that I could throw on top of a gaming mat in case I was playing Saga, for example, where you have a specific river scenario where the river crosses the middle of the map. I don't always want a 6 foot river in the middle of my mats, but being able to just
having a set
one
on
out,
version,
set it on, play that scenario is great.
If you have anniversary games like your Rorke's Drift one, we play regularly. At least once a year. And then we've done the other one where we've done the Vikings. We could get one done for that, because what we tend to do is we tend to just sort of stick mats together, and then we're just trying to clump stuff on to try and represent the landscape. And if we're on the Saga side of things, Stamford Bridge, you could get yourself a wee river and all that sort of stuff done. Wasn't there one with a deep shock type thing?
Before that, Battle of Fulford. It had a Fulford gap in it and stuff.
That's the one. You could get that done as well.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, not for you could play it all the time. But I mean, if you have a specific game that you like repeating over and over again, it may be worth the investment at that point.
Yeah, or even, I mean, there are even simple things where you don't need to be doing a hugely different mat. You can just go, I want that green mat, but something I use a lot is the center point of the mat. So can you put like a stone or something just dead center? And if you don't need to measure from it, you don't need to measure from it, but it's just there, and it's not obtrusive in any way. Or a lot of games use a standard 12-inch deployment. So can we have something that just a line, a thin, light line at 12 inches, or whatever it happens to be?
Yep.
All of these things are handy to have.
It's a good point. Let's take Saga as an example. You don't want the full width of the 6x4, so maybe you just want a little bit of grass.
Just need a 4x3. Yeah.
A wee bit of grass ridge or something down either side. It doesn't necessarily need to be straight. It could wiggle a bit, but if it's roughly where it needs to be, you could quickly go, right, there's the deployment zones already mapped out in that direction, and there's a couple of stones put down that side and down that side. There's just some things that represent
so if you're
where you're playing in.
So if you're playing Saga, that's your 4x3. If you're not playing Saga, or if you're playing a grand game of Saga and you're playing the full 6x4, it just looks like terrain features on the mat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. I'm gonna have to maybe look into that at some point. Right, gents. Kickstarter time.
Yeah.
Who's been picking? Who are we blaming?
I have picked once more, so you can blame it all on me. So the first of these is one that I have actually been recommended to look at multiple times by the community, and Warren even said, "Hey Ben, Relicblade's a thing." Ooh, spoiler. So yeah, I've been looking at the Kickstarter for Relicblade Storms of Kural.
No way, have you?
Who would have thought
Such a surprise.
Which is by Metal King Studio. So this is effectively like a one-man band, Sean Sutter, who has put together this really awesome tactical fantasy tabletop miniatures game, skirmish game, which is all about playing as like a little tiny tight-knit band of heroes.
This dude here.
That is the dude. That is Sean.
That is him.
Hello, Sean. I'm going to have to steal your mustache at some point.
And sort of like your little band of heroes and adventurers going up against evil, villainous fiends in a world that is very much about sort of like that kind of narrative-style, scenario-driven combat. Way back in the day when Relicblade first came out, we did actually have an interview with Sean where we were talking about the game and the idea for it. One of the cool things he has always been obsessed with was drawing on all the stuff that made Mordheim great and then transferring that into a different fantasy world and doing something a little bit strange and esoteric and weird and different and unique. So all of the different characters that you play as in the game are very similar to sort of like the standard elves and dwarves and orcs and that kind of thing. But then there's loads of other bits and pieces thrown in there as well. So you've got things like the Lizard Man, where you've got strange things like a sort of like crow-style undead creature and that kind of thing. You've got a squid berserker, of all things, and that kind of thing.
Don't knock the octopuses, because they will have you.
No, yeah. And the sort of key focus of this Kickstarter is for that Storms of Kural set. So this is going to be a new 2-player battle set to get you invested in the game.
Right. So
it features.
Where can this basic?
So that's it. Yeah. So that's the basic set. That's the sort of core pledge that they say you should aim for. It comes with a set of 8 one-piece metal miniatures. So all you got to do is slot them into the bases, and they're good to go. You also get the rules, the cards, and the scenario booklets that you need to play, which is all good. There'll obviously be a little bit of cleanup because they're metal miniatures and that kind of thing. But there's no gluing, so you don't have to worry about any of that. You just have to stick them in the bases, get painting if you want to, and stop playing the game. From there, as I say, it's a really sort of narrative, scenario-driven game where you're playing as like the forces of evil and the forces of good struggling over things. But if you want to go that one step further, then in addition to that sort of core pledge, they've also got another pledge which throws in the big full-on rulebook with the hardback rulebook with all of the different rules for all the other different styles of characters and all the different creatures in the game and massive campaigns that you can go on to play through big storylines and everything like that. The actual range as a whole is pretty deep, and they have unlocked a load of stuff through this Kickstarter already with stretch goals and that kind of thing, looking at a lot of their sort of esoteric and weird and unique creatures. I mean, who would not want to play as a big badass murder pig in their games? I mean, who would not want to do it, right? I believe they've actually called it Destroyer Pig. It's like it's actually the name of the character. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's a very, very cool game with a very unique style to it and a very nice sort of look. The thing that I particularly like about it is that I know a lot of people who dive into things like Radio Shadow Deep and Frostgrave and all that kind of thing, and this is the other game that they play on top of that. Yeah. Because it's sort of like their companion game that's a little bit quirky and a little bit weird. And when I think there's a lot of people who've also played it with some really interesting sort of like twists on it to make it a little bit more co-op on that kind of thing as well, which I think is really cool. Although that's not sort of baked into the rules itself, but it's just a really nice sort of angle to go down as well with it because of the fact that it's so sort of like cinematic and character based and all that kind of thing. So
there are an awful lot of expansions as well where they break into it and go, well, maybe you want to do this, maybe you want to have more of a murder hobo feel, or maybe you want to bring a companion, like essentially like a Mass Effect or Fable, or like an NPC type of affair with your main character that you don't want to have to worry about generating and building. So you can go ahead and pick up one of these expansion booklets in most cases that just change how the game itself plays. It's fascinating to see what Sean has done, because he literally just went, I'm going to be a one-man band on this, like Dennis Waterman in Minder. He's going to write the theme tune, sing the theme tune in the show. It's like, if I do all the art, I do the history, I do the game, and I do the sculpting, then I've got full artistic control, and I'm not beholden to somebody going, well, polls show that really, if they smile more and they're less hairy, they'll sell better to the 25 to 17-year-old market in West Basildon. The fact he's not constrained by anybody else means he can actually just go, here's the story I want to tell.
We've made Sean sad with that thought there, Jerry.
Oh dear, that is don't play happy again. The fact that he can just go, here's what I want to do. Here's my plan for my game. Who's interested? And you can see that there's quite a lot of names there. That's his patron. So there's a big group of people playing this at the moment already. And if you're trying to get into Relicblade, it's not always easy because it is just a book and then stuff. So
does it have a website?
It does. There
is a link to the shop that we have. Although you can, I'm going to preface it obviously as Jerry was saying there, like it can be quite hard to get a hold of it. But I believe JT Infamous over here is doing them.
He was. I don't believe he currently is. However, the current Kickstarter is EU friendly. So he's got a distributor here at the moment for the Kickstarter. Hopefully that changes because it's a bit wee.
I've got some sort of store.
Yeah, so this is the collection of all of his expansion content and what exists and that kind of thing.
If you look currently, the PDF, the book itself is like $30, the rule book, but the PDF of the rule book is only a tenner, right there, slap bang in the middle, Seeker's Handbook. So that, a tenner, what's that in real money? It's like, cost of a chip shop.
Bit of a Chinese dinner.
Yeah. So it's going to cost you £8, say, ish. It's worth it for that if you've got these things kicking around your house.
And again, one of the cool things I like is that when the diagrams and the stuff are done within the book, they're all done like those old diagrams in Mordheim and Necromunda, where it was actually little drawn things of Skaven attacking, mercenaries and that kind of thing. He's done the same kind of thing here. I think it adds a real nice sense of charm to the game as a whole, which I think is really cool. It's all driven through the idea of like action points and that kind of thing. It's all very cool.
We haven't talked about the actual, apart from the fact that the murder pig and the squid assassin are awesome. But the actual theme, the style that he's gone for is a little bit cartoony. But what it's very reminiscent of is Mike Mignola's Hellboy. You see things like there's an elf-looking ogre. I'm not sure how to best put it, but it's a hulking blue-skinned elf thing with like spiral
it's from the
tattoos.
Wild Folk band, I think. Yeah.
And you look at that and you're going, if somebody goes elf, you normally think lithe, thin, but then when you see like
I don't know where to go.
If you scroll through here, you'll probably see.
Yeah, you'll probably see him. He'll be kicking around somewhere. But
there he is, the Wilderkin. If you click on that faction,
see that blue guy right down front. When you look at that as a model and as a concept, you go, yeah, it's definitely an elf, and then you go, it's not an elf I would have thought of. But if you've seen Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, where they go to Nirn,
that's shiny. I want that.
It's it's an elf. It's distinctly an elf. It's a massive blue-skinned lunatic, and I just think that's stunning because it's not a standard. He's got pointy ears. He's wearing green. He's got a bow. It's a Tolkien elf in a thing. He's probably not an elf per se, but that whole style, the unusual sculpting and art style both marry up perfectly to give you this very unique fantasy feel without just retreading a lot of the standard tropes. The orcs, pigs, they're very distinct and of themselves, but at the same time you could run that as a Frostgrave orc warband or orc encounter, and people looking at it wouldn't go, that's not an orc, because you go, are you sure? Have you seen a Gomorian guard in Jabba's palace?
Exactly.
Pigs are orcs, orcs are pigs.
Let's get this guy back. Pigs.
And that's the thing I really like about this is, and it's the element of the wargaming world as it stands right now that I really like, is that you get people like Sean Sutter or like Alex Huntley who do these really amazing, unique worlds. So you've got things like Ark World from Whitlock, and obviously then this from Metal King. You've got these really nice, diverse, and interesting warbands and miniatures and stuff. Like, I know a lot of people that use these particular miniatures and stuff from the Lone Guard, which is these guys, for Rangers of Shadow Deep. They use these miniatures for that because they're perfect for it. So, a really amazing range. So,
and terrain-wise, there's the stuff coming out from Kromlech next week.
Exactly.
I think it's pre-order. If it's not pre-order, that's even better. Because like I was looking at this, going, well, that would just work a treat for this stuff.
Yeah. But you can see there the amount of different.
The Flame Bearer is so cool. It's a shame that he's sold out, but the Flame Bearer is one of my favourite miniatures.
you just clicked on that commander because that commander's got a kite shield.
Yeah, I'm going back to that. Just giving Ben some lip service.
It's because beards make miniatures so much cooler.
That is true. You don't need hair on top when you've got that much hair down.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
Also, holy shit! Look at the lighting on that torch.
Yeah, it looks like it's been illuminated.
It's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go see this dude.
No, that's not.
Give me
a kite shield fanatic over here.
There you go. He looks historic, but at the same time, he is distinctly fantasy.
Yeah.
It's got that real world feel.
Yeah.
Sweet. So the Kickstarter has what? About
13 days from the time of watching.
Yeah. 13 days funded.
As soon as this came out, everyone was definitely jumping on it and being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe there's a new one coming out," and that kind of thing. So,
on it like a car bonnet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's very cool.
That is very cool. What's up next, Ben?
So next, we step from the realm of fantasy and into the realm of history. And we're looking at some work from another really awesome little company. So this is Things from the Basement, who do terrain. You may have heard us talking about them in sort of conjunction with Foreground, who are working on some of their coloured versions of their kits that they do, which is very cool. But they are on Kickstarter right now with the Farms of Gettysburg. They went out and they were like, hey, you know what we want to do? We're going to make this really awesome set of terrain in both 28mm and 15mm that is basically as accurate as you can get to the actual rural buildings from the battlefield of Gettysburg back in the day during the American Civil War.
Let's see, right? So here's one of them. If I click this, will this be the source for this?
Oh, yes. Yes,
so there's the building, and there's the source material.
Yeah. So they have gone and meticulously looked at all the buildings and how they look on the inside and the outside and tried to put together very, very realistic versions of both of these that you could use for both the Union and the Confederates and stuff. So
that's really cool, but they've missed the 5G tower.
Well, it's interesting you say that because if you do go and look, a lot of the stuff at Gettysburg is still well preserved. Because it's
not that long ago, really.
No, it's not that long ago, and it's the most significant site in the Civil War.
Yeah.
So they did keep it, but over time, it hasn't been that long ago. But 150 years. Yeah, by 150 years, things have changed. So you do see buildings where it's still there on the site, but it wasn't exactly like that during the actual battle. Jorg has gone and found photographs that were taken around the time or just after or just before, and so where you might see that something is here but they don't have when he first said he was going to do this, he put up some pictures going, do you know what I'm working on, and put up a picture of like the unpainted building, and people are going, it's such and such's farm from Gettysburg. Yes. And then they're going, but it's missing the lean-to on the east gable end. Going, it's not. I just haven't finished printing that bit yet. So, yes, they are very accurate compared to pictures you can see right now of the examples that exist today as they are, but they're also very accurate based on what is actually as far as we can tell, the recorded version of them during the Civil War. So if you want to do, Meade's command point in the Fishhook, then
that's specifically included in here and everything.
Look, they've even got that little doghouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Just there.
It's one of the things they talked about this is that trying to make it so that because a lot of the fighting at Gettysburg, obviously a lot of it was in big fields and that kind of thing, but a major amount of it happened around these farms, so they all had an integral part in the actual fighting and the sort of the ebb and flow of the battle and that kind of thing, which is really cool. But another thing to point out as well is that they do them in both 28mm and 15mm, so you can play in those styles, whichever one you want. The doors and stuff actually work in the 28mm versions. They don't in the 15mm versions. But so that's an interesting point of difference. If that makes a difference, do you care about doors?
15mm, no, I do not.
Exactly, no, because you're going to be playing with big, huge, trays of things and that kind of thing. But yeah, some really awesome looking buildings. Again, really nice to see the amount of attention to detail that's been put into it by Things from the Basement. And a really nice sort of historical sort of period to dive into and explore, really, as well. So, especially if you're interested in that kind of thing of doing that sort of big battle on the tabletop, that being your thing.
There we go. Look, 15mm. That's perfect for what we were looking at. Was it last week we were looking at the American Civil War?
Yeah,
we were. Yes.
Look at that serendipity.
It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if he's got things planned that he wants to unlock, or if this is.
I don't remember actually
the complete set, because there are.
I think he's basically just got the whole set planned out.
Because there are a few places that he hasn't listed there that may come in the future. Then, because the Rose Farm isn't listed on that, but. I mean, as it is, there's enough there. If you're playing in 28mm, you're not going to need more than one of these, really.
Yeah.
One per board in 28mm, sufficient. I don't think any of them are so close that they would be able to fit two on a board. 15mm, or if you're using them as 15mm representing on smaller scale, like 10s or 6s, you could probably get a couple onto one tabletop, so there's room to expand there. But Gettysburg is it's a rather compact, but still not that compact area.
The American style of compact.
Yeah. Where you travel for a day before you meet your neighbor. That's how
do you know
close
what'd be
they are.
cool, right? So you go for the 15mm stuff, right? You go and get the 15mm troops that we looked at last week, and then you go to Deep Cut. Was it Deep Cut Studio for the custom mat?
Just get a topographical map
that's based on your 15mm. Two maps. There are two mats that you stick together to create a big massive player, and then you've got your buildings.
That'd be cool.
Troops. Oh yeah.
You'll like this then. If I put that, where's the best place to put that? In there. Just have a look at that.
Are you discoing me?
I'm going to disco you. Maybe this is just me because I'm me. Because this is a relatively. I'm not sure when this map was actually drawn, but it was close to the actual battle. And I would love to see that on a 6x4.
You have to bear with me. I'm getting.
Oh, that's all right. I wouldn't want the actual disposition of the troops
Ta-da!
printed on, but if you had that as your map.
That'd be pretty cool.
15mm, and then you can then obviously deploy your troops yourself.
Yeah,
and around Gettysburg, because there you've got the.
Oh jeez, you're going to need quite a few mats based on the size.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's Gettysburg was a compact battle, but it wasn't a small battle. It was. I think if it's not the biggest engagement in the Civil War, it's the largest casualty.
Right.
In the American Civil War, there was like 50,000 casualties.
Wow.
From north and south, it's more or less the turning point for
the
Civil War. So, yeah,
it's a bit where everyone went, "We're sick of this."
Yeah, I've seen it played out on 6mm, and you can just about squeeze Gettysburg onto a 8x12
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
in its entirety with the topographic
Okay.
map. So yeah.
So we want to
fa-
play one
no,
tiny wee portion of this then.
So, so that's what I'm saying. So even with the farmhouses, you could maybe squeeze 2 of those buildings. But if you back it and you get all of the buildings in 28 mil, then it means you can literally go, today we are going to fight
This
around,
portion of the battle or whatever.
yeah, around Cemetery Hill, or we're going to fight around,
Yeah. And then link them all together.
And then
the,
link them
the
together.
the events of each. Yeah.
you can play the Battle of Gettysburg over many weeks.
Yeah.
So,
But if you're interested in that, go and check it out. I believe there's 23 days left on that campaign when you're seeing this. There's also, as we've mentioned, Things from the Basement are a pretty big company. Well, a little company that does a lot of awesome stuff. So they've done lots of other ranges that you can go and check out as well. If you're not a fan of historical, there's other bits and pieces you'd go.
Jorg does some stunning stuff. He did a range of Japanese recently as well. Japanese buildings, so it's very good for Bushido, Ronin, Test of Honor, any sort of feudally Japan type of thing you want to do, and they look stunning. So he's a talented fellow, that Jorg. Shorter than me, so that's good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. The fact that I'm less talented but taller, I can live with that, and I've got more hair.
So let me give you a quick flash. There we go.
There you go. There's the website.
That is his website, yeah.
So if I go to store, we can quickly just briefly show off some of that stuff. Look at that.
And as I say, if you are interested in a pre-colored version
you.
as well, Foreground also do some pre-colored elements of it as well. So if don't want to paint, then there's that option too.
Not the last Kickstarter he did, because he did the samurai boxes. Was his last, but he had previously did a Mexican village with adobe buildings and that sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
And that was a Kickstarter, but then a few months later, Foreground did a colorized version. So you've got that choice where you either, you can get it early and paint it yourself. If you're not keen on painting, if you wait, hopefully, between himself and Foreground, they'll come up with a colorized version. Likewise, that fort set, there's a Foreground version of it as well. So hopefully later on this year we may see Gettysburg rendered in full color for the people.
Yeah.
People too lazy to buy paint.
That's me. So
I feel you.
Yeah.
I put paint on MDF once. It was terrible. I'm never doing that again.
Paintbrushes, Ben. If you kept your hair, you could make your own paintbrushes. Oh, keep growing your beard, and you can be like the guys in Santa Claus the movie and just paint your stuff like that.
I'll do it that way. Yeah.
Do it that way.
Yeah. As I've been told, the hair on my chin is now longer than the hair on my head. So
yeah. Well, gents, I think that pretty much brings us to the end.
It does. We've come full circle. We're talking about my hair at the beginning, and we're talking about hair at the end. It's great.
If you were commenting last week, make sure that you come over to OnTabletop.com and check to see if you're a winner.
Yes.
If you're excited about the epic prize that we have this week, the Prophecy of the Wolf set, wow. Make sure that you like, comment, share the video, and come on over to OnTabletop.com. I'll give you the nips. Look, OnTabletop.com, and get a comment in there as well to double your chances of winning, because we're going to pick at random for the 2 comment sets. But as always, gents, it's been great fun.
Indeed.
Spending
emotional.
Probably an hour and a half to 2 hours maybe with you by now. If you've been enjoying this at home, make sure and come on over to OnTabletop.com, take your 30-day free trial of the Cult of Games, and then you can get in to see the XLBS show, which goes out on a Sunday. It's possibly even my more favorite show than this, because we can chill down and do all sorts of strange things that we wouldn't normally do.
Strange things is definitely the phrase.
Yeah. Last week I was in love. Oh, I'm going to destroy stuff.
Last week you were
in love with a spray can.
Oh, right, yes. That makes sense.
I was talking about tanks I'm going to build and stuff. I don't know what we're talking about this week's show. I haven't filmed it yet. We haven't. It'll be a surprise.
It goes we do it live on a Sunday, don't we? Right?
Yeah. We get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start planning on a Sunday morning, and then we're broadcasting live. Yeah, we really are at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh! You flashing there, Jerry? You're flashing, teasing people for the show. Right, come on. You know it makes sense. Come on over. Try Cult of Games. Join us in the XLBS show, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.